The offer letter was still open on Alex's phone when his bank reversed the $4,800 deposit because the check behind it turned out to be fraudulent. He had been hired for a remote job. He had signed the paperwork. His new employer had sent money for a home office. The deposit had appeared in his real banking app, and he had spent it exactly the way the company told him to spend it. So, the deposit came out of his account. The $4,800 he had already sent to their vendor was a real payment, and that one did not come back. And when he finally called the company, whose logo sat at the top of that offer letter, they told him something it took him a long moment to absorb. They had never hired him. There had never been a job. That morning he had opened the banking app for an ordinary reason. He wanted to see whether his laptop had shipped. What he found instead was a negative number where his balance used to be. The $4,800 his employer had deposited was gone, reversed out of the account. The $4,800 he had sent to the company's approved vendor was also gone. But that one stayed gone. A message to his recruiter sat there with no reply. So how does money show up in a real account, at a real bank, and then vanish days later? That question is the whole story, and most people never learn the answer until it has cost them something. Go back a few weeks to a much quieter kind of pain. Alex had been job hunting for months, not casually. There was a spreadsheet. He rewrote the top of his resume for each posting, changed a few words in the cover letter, and hit submit. Most went into silence. A handful came back as polite rejections, a paragraph long, usually from an address that could not receive replies. Somewhere in there, he started checking email before getting out of bed, not because he expected anything, but because the alternative was lying there thinking about it. Every application sat in a dashboard marked submitted, a word that means nothing at all by the third week. He wanted remote work, and not because it sounded easy. He wanted the commute money back. He wanted to be home. He wanted one steady paycheck that made the end of the month stop being a problem to solve. That is the state he was in when the message arrived. It came from a recruiter. Professional signature, company logo, a real-looking email address. The company name was one Alex recognized immediately, the kind you would not question. And the recruiter knew things. He mentioned the type of role Alex had been applying for. He referenced Alex's actual work background. He used his full name. None of that is as impressive as it feels in the moment. Scammers pull resumes from job sites and career platforms. They copy real logos, real job descriptions, sometimes the names of real employees. Some take a genuine posting from a real employer, change a few details, and repost it. The email domain can be built to look almost identical, off by a single letter you would have to be looking for. His experience matched the role. The salary was good, but not ridiculous. That mattered. A wildly impossible number would have made him suspicious. A believable one did the opposite. An interview was scheduled for 2 days later, and it happened entirely over chat. Remote hiring is completely normal. Plenty of legitimate companies interview online, and a written interview by itself does not mean anything is wrong, but a hiring process that never moves beyond text messages combined with other warning signs is worth slowing down for. Every question sounded right. Software he had used, his availability, how he handled deadlines, benefits, a start date, what his home office setup looked like. It felt like a real interview because it was built to feel like one. By the next morning, the offer had arrived. His full legal name at the top, the position, the salary, a start date 2 weeks out, the logo, a signature, onboarding instructions underneath. Alex read it twice. Then he told someone he loved that he got the job. That is the part that stays with people afterward. Not the money, the phone call. That afternoon he cleared a corner of the apartment, measured the wall for a desk, did the arithmetic on a first paycheck that would actually cover things. For the first time in months, the math worked. Then came onboarding, the ordinary employment forms, full legal name, home address, date of birth, a photo of his driver's license, his social security number for payroll, bank details for direct deposit. Nothing about it felt strange. Every job he had ever taken asked for the same things. Hold that thought, because it comes back. Then the recruiter explained the home office policy. The company would cover his equipment: laptop, monitor, headset, the software licenses, a desk. Rather than shipping it, they would send him the funds, and he would order everything through their approved vendor. The supplier the company used for remote hires. A check arrived for $4,800. Alex deposited it with his phone, the way he deposited everything. And a couple of days later, the money was there, not pending, available, sitting in his real account, at his real bank, in an app he had used for years. This is the piece that makes the entire scam work, so let me be careful and exact about it. Under federal rules, banks generally have to make deposited funds available fairly quickly, often within a day or two. But making funds available is not the same thing as confirming the check is good. Those are two separate events, and weeks can pass between them. The money can be released before the bank has learned that the check is counterfeit, altered, stolen, or drawn on an account that will never pay it. This is why the word cleared causes so much damage. In casual conversation, people say a check cleared when they mean the money showed up. Those are not the same thing. Money made available to use can still be provisional, and if the check is later found to be fraudulent, that deposit can be reversed. The Federal Trade Commission puts it plainly. Fake checks often look completely legitimate, sometimes even to bank employees. They can be printed with the names and addresses of real financial institutions. And it may take weeks for a bank to learn a check was bad. His app showed the funds as available. What it did not say, because it is not what that screen is for, was whether the check had been finally verified. Those are two different facts, and only one of them is ever displayed. Alex looked at a number in his own banking app and read it the way almost anyone would. Then the pressure started, gently. The equipment needed to arrive before his start date. The vendor had a corporate rate that only applied to orders placed that day. Could he send the payment and forward the confirmation? Delays might push back his start. None of it was aggressive, and that is worth noticing. The recruiter stayed calm, helpful, organized, no threat anywhere in it. Just small, reasonable-sounding steps, each one increasing what Alex had already committed to. So he sent $4,800 to the approved vendor. He got an order confirmation almost immediately, which felt like the end of the process, rather than the start of a problem. He checked for a tracking number that night. Nothing. He checked again the next morning and told himself, shipping takes a day to update. No equipment ever shipped. An employer sending you a check and then directing you to send money onward to a vendor or a third party is one of the clearest warning signs there is. The check is the bait. The payment you make is the actual theft. And that approved vendor may be controlled by or connected to the scammers. It may be a fake storefront built for the purpose, or it may simply be another destination set up to receive the payment. Legitimate employers handle equipment in different ways. Some ship it directly. Some reimburse a documented purchase. Some run everything through an established procurement system, and there is no single process every company follows. But an employer sending you a check and then instructing you to forward that money to a vendor is a major warning sign of a fake check scam, whatever the rest of the process looks like. Several days later, the bank alert arrived. The check had been identified as fraudulent, and the deposit was reversed. The deposit could be reversed. The $4,800 Alex authorized to the vendor was far harder to recover. What happens to an account after that depends on the bank, the account agreement, and the circumstances, and it can include fees or restrictions. But generally, when a bank credits a deposited check that later proves fraudulent, it can reverse those funds, and the depositor is left pursuing whoever wrote the check. Payments sent by wire, gift card, cryptocurrency, payment app, or instant transfer are especially hard to claw back. which is exactly why scammers ask for them. Messages to the recruiter went nowhere. The number was disconnected. The email started bouncing. The vendor site he had ordered from would not load at all. So he did the thing he should have done at the very beginning. He looked up the real company himself, not through anything the recruiter had sent him, and he called the number on their official website. They were kind about it. They also confirmed all of it. No employee by that name worked there. That offer letter had not come from them. Alex had never existed in their hiring system. A company had been impersonated. A person had been robbed. And the two facts had almost nothing to do with each other. Then he remembered the onboarding forms. His name, his address, his date of birth, an image of his driver's license, his social security number, his bank details, all of it handed over during what he believed was a normal hiring process. What was done with any of it, he does not know. That is the hardest part. There is no alert that tells you, no confirmation either way, but the people who ran that process may now hold information that could be used for identity theft, and that possibility does not expire on a schedule. It is worth understanding that this risk exists, even for people who never send $1. Someone can walk away from a fake job before any check arrives, and still have handed over enough during onboarding to cause problems later. It is worth sitting with why this worked, because the answer is not that Alex was careless. The scam never asked him to believe one impossible thing. It gave him 10 ordinary things and asked him to believe them one at a time. A familiar company, a role that matched his experience, a believable salary, a recruiter who knew his background, professional documents, interview questions that sounded real, paperwork every employer asks for, a number in his own banking app, and a request framed as routine company procedure. Each step was small. Each one made the next easier to accept. And every single one of them arrived while he was relieved, because he had just been told yes after months of being told nothing at all. Reports about job scams have grown sharply. Reports to the Federal Trade Commission nearly tripled from 2020 through 2024, and reported losses over that period climbed from about $90 million to more than $500 million. It shows up in other forms worth knowing apart from each other. In a task scam, you are paid to complete repetitive online jobs like rating or liking things. Your earnings look real on a dashboard, and then you must deposit your own money to unlock a withdrawal. In a reshipping scam, packages bought with stolen payment information arrive at your home and you repackage and forward them. In a fake training scam, you pay for certification or equipment before you start. Different mechanics, same engine. So how do you check? Before any money moves, start by finding the company's official website yourself. Search for it. Do not use a link you were sent. Then look at their careers page and see whether the position is actually posted there. Next, make contact on your own terms. Use a phone number or email address you found independently and ask 2 direct questions. Does this role exist? And does this recruiter work here? While you are at it, read the full email domain slowly, 1 character at a time, because a lookalike address usually differs by a single letter, and hold 2 lines firmly. Never deposit a check from an employer and forward that money to a vendor or anyone else. And do not hand over your social security number, your license, or your banking details until you have independently confirmed that both the employer and the hiring process are real. One more thing that catches careful people. A real listing, a real logo, a real employee's name, all of it can be copied. Finding the role posted somewhere is a starting point. On its own, it proves nothing. If it has already happened, there are things worth doing quickly. Contact your bank or payment provider immediately. Explain that this involved a fake job offer and a fraudulent check, and ask whether the payment can be stopped, recalled, disputed, or traced. Speed matters here, though it is not a guarantee. Stop communicating with the people who did this and do not send anything else. Then save everything before it disappears. The messages, the emails, the check, receipts, usernames, web addresses. Report the listing to the platform where you found it and tell the real company they are being impersonated so that they can warn other applicants. Report the fraud to the Federal Trade Commission. If you share personal information, go to identitytheft.gov, which walks you through a recovery plan step by step. Change any password you were used elsewhere. Watch your bank and credit activity closely and look into a fraud alert or a credit freeze. Recovery is not guaranteed, and it is worth saying that plainly. None of that undoes what happened. It just narrows what can still happen next. By then, he had already imagined the first day. The desk in the corner, logging in that first morning, the paycheck that would finally make the month work. What is hard to accept is not only that the check was fake, it is that everything around it was built. The interview was constructed, the offer letter was designed, the recruiter was invented, the vendor was a prop, the interview was fake, the offer letter was fake, the recruiter and vendor were fake. But the payment Alex authorized was real, and so was the damage left behind. If this helped you recognize the warning signs before they reached your bank account, subscribe to Money Traps Explained. The most dangerous fake job is not the one promising impossible wealth. It is the one ordinary enough to fit the future you were already hoping for. Alex thought that offer letter meant someone had finally chosen him. What those people had actually chosen was the moment he was most ready to believe good news. And that is the part worth carrying with you, because hope is not a weakness and it is not going to stop being how any of us survive a hard year. So keep one line fixed and let everything else be judged against it. A legitimate employer pays you for your work. It does not need your money before the work has even begun.